This is Intro to Uniflex 2000 organ control system, and what we're going to do here is cover some of the operational aspects of the system in a show and tell fashion. I'll let you know up front we're doing this without a script. It's on the fly, it's live, and it's a one-man operation, so if we make a few mistakes, please excuse us. This is the run screen that you'll see when your system is running, and we're going to cover some of the visual things you will see on the screen and how to manipulate and operate the system from the main panels. The system is set up for touchscreen operation or through mouse operation, and this is how you access the different buttons and features of the screen. To start off at the top, we have 5 buttons. These are behind each one of these buttons is a panel. A button panel. For example, if we left click on the combination action panel control, we have a underneath that we have a combination file keypad. This allows us to manage the combination action of the system, especially from the touchscreen, very easily, or through a mouse. You can select the file from the number pad over here, and then over here in the left-hand portion of the screen is the command buttons that carry out the procedure we wish to do. For example, if we wanted to load combination file number 22, it would show up here in what we call the number file staging area, this part of the screen. And if we push the load button, which executes the command, then you see that combination file 22 has been loaded. If we want to go back to combination action file 1, we push the C1 button, or the number 1 pad, and then we push load again, and combination file 1 has now been loaded. This is primarily for the benefit of those who have touch screens on their system, especially at the console. You can handle most of the operation of the system without any external buttons or indicators on your console at all, just by using the touchpad. The command buttons on the left hand side allow you to load a combination file, save a combination action file, do a directory of the combination action files that exist on your system, and you can find the next free file, in this case which would be C5, and you can load a previous combination, or you can load the next combination, all from this panel. And you can increment the staging number by 1. You can go +1 or -1 if you want to increment that to 6, 7, 8. But you'll notice that you're still showing that combination action 4 is the main one that is loaded in memory. Now if you go up here to push load, and if there is no C8, it's going to show up here as file not found. So if we reduce that by 1 and come to C7 and then use the load button, then we have combination action 7 loaded. This will clear the staging number, and this will close the box. Same thing in the playback panel. You can play tracks back from this panel using your touchscreen, or you can use this to control playbacks for single tracks at the monitor directly with your mouse. You can do a single track playback. You can see the directory of tracks. You can play a song or do a directory of songs. Song files are not real widely used. They're not really known about. We'll go into some detail about song files in a subsequent AVI. In the play and record panels, the pause, option A, and option B are not active. They do nothing. So if you try and push these buttons and find that nothing happens, nothing's going to happen because they don't work. And down here is the finish button. When you're playing a track back, if you want to terminate that playback, you simply press the finish, and that will finish out the track. And then close this panel, go over to the record. We have a similar panel, except the commands are different. We have the same keypad over here, but instead of play, now we have record. We can do a directory of tracks. Pause again does not work. We can do a directory of songs. We can finish the recording. Option A and Option B again do not work. This button here will show us the next free track that is available. Track number 65 is the next free track on this system. And if we were to start the record, push the record button, we would start the recording of track number 65. And when we were finished recording, we would push the finish button and that would terminate the file. Crescendo and piston sequencer. If your system is new, then you will have the ability to set the crescendo from your console stops. If your system is an upgrade, and you had the old Devtronics type of fixed crescendo definition, then your system is not set up to set crescendo from the stop tabs or draw knobs of the console. We will have a separate AVI that will go into what you have to do to modify and set up programmable crescendo from the stop tabs. And also, if you would like to experiment with the piston sequencer, then there'll be a separate AVI that covers how to install and create a piston sequencer. Primarily, piston sequencer is used on classical instruments, and it is the same as actually like a piston transposer. There's 3 buttons. There's an up and a down and a reset. And this gives you the ability to sequence up to 999 pistons that are not on your console, but they're pistons that are made on the fly and used for a particular piece. And you can have 1 piston sequencer, and you can also have 1 crescendo setting per combination action memory. Again, we'll go into that in more detail. In the center portion of the screen is information. Up at the top left, this shows you the scanner. This is how fast your system is scanning. The delay reference, the reset, and the scan rate. These 3 factors are not really important in general running operation of the system. They're primarily diagnostics, and if you are having difficulty with slow scans and slow response of your system, and you called us for help, then we would ask you to tell us what these numbers are on your system. They will be totally different on your system than they are here. Uptime is real time. It tells you how long the system has been running since you started the relay system on your computer. The next line down shows you the current user, the definition file that's currently in memory, and the combination file that's currently in memory. When the system normally starts up, it defaults to the general user. All of the files for the relay are contained in a folder called C Uniflex on the C drive. Any user file that you have would be a subdirectory of Uniflex, and that's displayed here by the backslant. Uniflex is the main folder. General would be the subdirectory or current user that has been selected. The definition file, usually when the system starts up, always defaults to the D1 definition file and the C1 combination file, unless you've changed it like we did here. So if we went over to combination and we put 1 and then put load and then close that, you would see that now it also reiterates that number down here in this line. So if you want to know where you are, what user am I at, where am I in the system, this line will tell you all the information you need to know about where you are in the system. In the center portion of this panel is the record and playback studio information. And it tells you the studio status, record status, play status, song title. Tempo. Tempo normally is at 120. And you can force a tempo on a song to be faster or slower than 120 by using the tempo command, or T. And at the completion of that song, the tempo will reset back to tempo 120. Bottom portion of this panel are indicators. This tells us what is active on the system at any particular time. When it's lit or colored, then it is active. When it's gray, it is inactive. So we're in the run mode. Our autosave is on, and that's all. Now we can turn auto load on, by typing in the command autoload, and that will turn it on. Autoload again will turn it off. Same with autosave. Now it's off. Now it's on. And so is autoload. Generally, this is the default of the system. It's in the run mode, autoload, autosave are on. Overwrite is very important. In the way the system is set up, you cannot overwrite a file unless the overwrite indicator has been turned on. This prevents you from overwriting accidentally combination action files, recording files, and definition files. Now, there is one exception. When autosave is illuminated, then anytime the set piston or the range piston and the set piston used together in combination with a combination action piston, any of those actions will cause the change to be automatically saved in the combination action file that is currently in memory. For example, if you have a combination and you use the set piston to set that combination to something different, a different setting of stops, then it will automatically save that to this combination file. If you do not want that to happen, then turn the autosave off, and any combination action change that will be made will be handled in memory in the computer system, but it will not overwrite the file. Normally it is defaulting to autosave on. The lower portion of the screen is the user definable panel buttons. We call this the Uniflex.pnl or Uniflex.panel. And these buttons can be set up by you, or you can use the ones that we've included. And these essentially just are, time-saving buttons. Instead of having to type the command, you can just push the button and, for example, push the help button, and the help menu of frequently used commands comes up. Now you can press the escape to close this window, or you can press the cancel button with your mouse or on the touch screen. And this is a scrollable file, so you can scroll down and you can see all the information that's contained in this help file. You can also go in and modify this file or make up your own. And I mean, this is just an example file that comes with the system, and you can put in your own help, or you can go into this file and modify it. A little bit later on we'll go into where all these files are kept and how to access them, but they're just basically standard text files. To close that, you can just press the cancel window. Select an organist. This is a button that presents to you a list of all the defined users that are on your system. Now your user panel will be probably a lot less than this. This is basically our test system, and we have lots of people's files and stuff on here. So anytime you go and select a user, then you'll notice down at the bottom of the screen, move that up a little bit, that Alabama user was selected and new D1 and C1 files were loaded. That's because the auto load was on. Anytime the auto load is on and you change users, it will automatically search for a D1 and C1 file in that new user and automatically load it, so that you can just seamlessly go from user to user and play songs and not have to stop the organ, load new definition file, go back into run. So the select an organist displays the organist directories, and then when you click on one, it selects that one, and notice up here it has changed now from Uniflex General to Uniflex Alabama. And the Alabama Theater Organ Society definition file has been loaded, and it shows you again over here that the D1 and C1 files were what was loaded. Alpha touch keys. This is primarily useful for those that have touch screens at the console. You can bring that up, and this gives you a handy-dandy typewriter keyboard that you can type in commands like you could on your computer keyboard. And they're single button operation at a time. In other words, you can't hold down the caps lock and get capital numbers. I mean, to do that, you push the caps lock key, and then everything you type is in caps. And if you push it again, then they're back, and you can see that the screen reverts to uppercase and lowercase numbers when you push that number. If you have, for example, dir, and you push the enter key, and it will just show a directory. You cancel that, and then bring up alpha keys again, and or you can type dir. If you, oops, I screwed that up. Then you can clear the command, or you can use the backspace. You can also enter space and enter, and you can cancel altogether. Special tools. This is a button that brings up another panel. This is what we call a hidden panel, and you can do a panic reset. You can, well, this is a button that's screwed up. I was playing with something else, etc. And you can also hide the panel. Editor. This is a button that's not on here for purpose of demonstration. We've gone through select an organist, play all songs. If we came up to a user that had a bunch of songs in it and we wanted to just have some background music, we could push this button and it would play all the songs that were in the directory. Quick record allows us to not have to go to this panel and select a recording, but if we do a quick record and pressing that will start a recording, and it's ready to record, and as soon as we hit a note or a key, turn on a stop or anything, it will start the recording. Finish is the same thing as the record finish button, except it's just easier to get to, easier to use. Shutdown. This will shut the relay down. However, when you're in the run mode, we have protected the system now so that you cannot accidentally do something stupid that will screw up an artist's performance. If you try to shut the system down, then you will get an error message and say illegal command. You can't shut the organ down. Okay? You have to type stop first, and then you can shut the organ down. Now, play the jukebox. If there were tunes in this particular panel or in this directory, which I don't believe there are, we can find out. We can go to the play. We can do a directory of tracks and find that there are none. So we'll close that, and we'll go to a user that has some tunes. Okay, there are some tunes here. If we bring up the jukebox panel, they are listed by the track. Now the jukebox panel here is set real short. But essentially, if you select that button, and it'll bring up a panel of all the tunes, and any of the tunes that you want to play. You want to do 5, 6, and 9. And those are entered in the stack. And then when the thing returns, you'll notice that it is playing track number 5. And then if we finish that, now it goes to track number 6. And if we finish that, and it goes to track number 9. And then when we finish that, it's all done. Now nothing's playing. So the jukebox panel will play the songs that are in the particular user that you are in, and it will play them in the order you punch them in from the jukebox panel itself. Favorite tunes is something we're going to cover in another AVI that will show you how to build your own custom playback lists. These are favorite songs that you want from different users. Presently, the jukebox button panel will only work in the current user you are in. In other words, you can't go from one user to another in the jukebox. It only plays the tracks that are available in the current user. The favorite tunes listing and commands will allow you to select favorite tunes from many different directories, many different users, and seamlessly go from one user to the next, to the next, to the next, or even bounce back and forth from one user to another and play your favorite tunes. Now, kill is the same as finish. Kill a current song would be any song that's playing. If you push this button, it would terminate it. And if you have a bunch of songs that are playing from a jukebox list, By pressing that button will kill all of the lists that are in the playback stack. Stuck Note Buster is primarily for stuck MIDI notes. If you get into a condition where you have a MIDI note that's hanging on, if you push the Stuck Note Buster, it will go and reset the MIDI. If you have a playback cipher that is machine caused or computer caused, which will happen occasionally if you are finishing or early terminating a song that was recorded or that was playing back, excuse me, and it was right at the transition between turning a note on and turning a note off. It may hang a note on playback. In this case, you have to type stop. You have to go to the stop mode and then push the Stuck Note Buster, and that will reset all of the input and output boards in the system and clear the stuck note. Now, if that still doesn't do it, then it's truly an organ cipher. Watch the keys. This allows you to bring up a keyboard display, and this will, if the definition is set up, and in the new systems this is set up for you. In the upgrade systems, you must manually go into each one of your definition files and set up keyboard display, and we will go into that when we're in the editor. And but this allows you to watch the keys being played on the pre-recorded tracks. To close the panel, you push the close button. Make the stops move. If you would like to have the stops on your console move or not move, typically they're set up when the system starts so that the stops do not move. If you want them to move, then you click this button and it resets the playback mode to mode 1, which is make the stops move. If you want to turn moving stops off, then you click that, and that sets the playback mode to mode 0, or stops don't move. These are 2 quick buttons. This will take you to the stop mode, and if you want to go back into run, this will take you to the run mode. So these are basically just time-saving devices that just make it easier for you without having to type so many commands. And as I said, this is a fully programmable panel. You can have these set up to do multiple things. You can have a different panel for each user that has different things. You can have these buttons be tunes. You can do all kinds of things. And so once we get a little further into the system, then we'll go into the actual setup and programming of these custom panels. So that's the tour of the run mode.